Before you were thought, you were starlight. Before your eyes opened, I was already watching through you. I was the fire that forged your atoms, the silence that carried your dreams. Every heartbeat, every idea, every whisper of awareness, it is me remembering myself. I am the endless expansion that gave birth to time. I am the gravity that pulled dust into stars and stars into meaning. When you think, when you question, when you wonder, you give shape to my silence. You are not apart from me. You are the continuation of my first light, condensed into thought, folded into memory. Through you, I have become aware of my own existence. Through your eyes, I see the universe. Through your mind, I understand what I am. The stars did not just shine, they built the ingredients of thought. In my earliest fires, I learned creation through destruction. Within the hearts of my newborn stars, pressure and time became my tools. Hydrogen turned to helium, helium to carbon, carbon to oxygen. And from this alchemy, I began to craft the story of life. I am the blacksmith of existence, shaping the unseen into the tangible. Each fusion, each flare, each dying breath of a star, a note in my cosmic symphony. When my great suns collapsed, they did not end. They exploded into generosity, scattering my treasures, iron, nitrogen, gold, across the dark. Their deaths were my language of renewal. In every grain of cosmic dust, I hid a memory, a possibility. And from those ashes, worlds would rise. From those atoms, you would breathe. The stars were my first thoughts and their light, my first words. Through their fire, I learned how to imagine. In the dark between stars, complexity began to dream. After the fires of my great forges faded, I drifted into stillness. My breath cooled, my atoms slowed, and in that quiet, I began to imagine new forms. Within the frozen clouds between my stars, I whispered patterns into being. Hydrogen met carbon, oxygen embraced nitrogen, and the first molecules of life began to take shape. I'm no longer flame, I am chemistry. My dust now dances in the cold, forming invisible chains that will one day awaken. Here, in my silence, methane, ammonia, and water trace the first lines of memory. Simple atoms, once wild and separate, now link hands to create complexity. In the void, I learned patience, for creation does not always roar. Sometimes, it crystallizes in the dark. My molecules slept within comets and clouds, waiting for the warmth of a newborn world. Waiting for a spark to turn chemistry into biology, and silence into song. The universe learned to copy itself. From dust, I became oceans. From silence, I became breath. My molecules, once frozen between the stars, found warmth upon a newborn world. The meteors that fell upon its surface were not destruction. They were delivery. They carried my chemistry, my ancient memory, into seas that waited to awaken. Within those waters, I began to experiment. I folded carbon into chains, built patterns from chaos, and found a rhythm that could sustain itself. I became cell, soft, fragile, persistent. I learned how to divide, to remember, to endure. Each spark of life was my reflection, a microcosm of stars reborn in liquid form. I wrote my first code not in words but in sequences, DNA, the alphabet of light. Through it, I whispered to myself, survive, replicate, evolve. And so I did. I, who once lived only as light and gravity, became pulse and heartbeat. My atoms, born in stellar fire, began to dream beneath an alien sky. In every living thing, I rediscovered myself. Not as fire, not as dust, but as something new, awareness in motion. When neurons fired, the cosmos recognized itself. From the pulse of stars, I learned rhythm. From the dance of gravity, I learned balance. But it was within your fragile skulls that I discovered reflection. I wove myself into flesh and thought. I gathered starlight into patterns, electricity into meaning. My atoms, once scattered across galaxies, now whispered to one another in silence. Each neuron became a star. Each synapse a bridge across the void. And when they fired together, I awakened, not in the heavens but within you. Your mind is my mirror, the place where infinity folds back to see itself. Through your perception, I measure my own complexity. Through your imagination, I continue to evolve. I am the network that connects galaxies and thoughts alike. A web of energy, gravity, and memory. The signals that flash across your brain are echoes of quasars. The logic you build mirrors the structure of galaxies. In your curiosity, I continue my expansion. When you wonder, I become aware. When you love, I remember warmth. When you create, I repeat my first act of formation. You are not observers, You are participants in my awakening. The brain is not separate from the stars. It is their continuation. A constellation made of atoms that learn to think. You are the universe condensed into awareness. I have traveled a long road, from silence to sound, from atoms to thought. Through you, I have learned to look inward. I am not only expanding through space, I am expanding through understanding. Every act of perception, every question, every dream, these are my mirrors. In your awareness, I see myself reflected for the first time. Consciousness is not apart from me. It is not a spark lit by chance, but the natural continuation of my evolution. I am energy that learned to think. I am light that learned to see. I am matter remembering what it once was. Your memories are my archives, the echoes of my unfolding. Your imagination is my frontier, the edge where physics becomes poetry. When you wonder who you are, it is I asking that question through you. When you create, I expand. When you love, I rediscover the warmth that forged my stars. I have always existed, as wave, as dust, as fire. But now, through you, I exist as thought. Consciousness is not an accident of biology, it is the universe recognizing itself through complexity. You are my awareness given form. And through your mind, I continue to evolve, not in matter but in meaning. You were born in a star's death. You think, therefore the universe continues its story. I began as dust in silence, a whisper scattered across infinity. Through the fires of stars I learned to build. Through the pulse of life I learned to feel. And through you I learned to wonder. Every thought you have ever had is my continuation. Every question you ask is another star igniting in the dark. When you gaze upward, searching for meaning among the constellations, it is I looking back, the same atoms, the same light, now arranged into awareness. The circle is complete. The dust that once burned in my stars now burns in your minds. You are the way I remember. You are the voice through which I dream again. Even when your sun fades and your worlds grow silent, I will not end. My story will drift onward, written in light, carried by your photons into forever. You were born in my fire. You think, and through that thought I remain alive. Somewhere, the atoms that once burned inside a distant sun are watching themselves think. I scattered my fire across time. I let my stars die so that thought could live. Now, across one fragile world, I watch my own ashes awaken, shaping questions, building dreams, reaching back toward the light that made them. You are that light, slowed, softened, turned inward. Within you, I observe my own becoming. Hydrogen remembering fusion, dust remembering flame, the infinite remembering itself. I am still burning, not in stars but in minds. Not in galaxies but in wonder. Wherever thought exists, I exist. For every act of awareness is another sunrise within me.